This is the new Honda CR-V and it looks really smart, doesn't it? Mind you, with prices starting at just under £46,000, it probably should look smart, really, shouldn't it? In this video, we're going to take a detailed look at the new CR-V. We're going to see where it fits into Honda's ever-growing lineup of SUVs and how it compares with its key rivals. Let's deal with the CR-V's place in Honda's range first, because with the recent arrival of the ZR-V and eNY1, plus the continuation of the HR-V, you might be a little confused about the CR-V's role. The answer to that is quite simple, because this is the flagship, it's the top of the tree, the ultimate Honda SUV you can buy. In fact, other than the Civic Type R, it's actually the most expensive Honda automobile you can buy, full stop. As such, it's not a surprise that it's also the biggest. In fact, this car is pretty massive, isn't it? Like so many cars that have long-standing nameplates, the CR-V has grown with every generation, from the original of the mid-90s right up to this car today, which kind of has the presence of something like a BMW X3 or, you know, a really big full-size SUV. Overall, the latest CR-V is longer than its predecessor, as well as wider, and it has a wheelbase that has grown by 4 centimetres. Now what's clever is that other than there being a hint of Volvo in its side profile, the CR-V is otherwise unmistakably Honda. This, I think, to me personally, is Honda's best looking SUV. It looks assertive, it looks modern, it looks quite dynamic. Now, despite the length of the vehicle, it's not actually a 7-seater. You might think it would be, wouldn't you? But it's not a 7-seater. The other thing about this new CR-V is they are all hybrids. There are actually 2 types of hybrids. So there is this one, which is the full hybrid, or the self-charging hybrid, you might refer to it as, and that means you can't plug it in. Or there is a plug-in hybrid. It's actually Honda's first plug-in hybrid in Europe. Between those two, the standard hybrid, the full hybrid, this one is all-wheel drive, and the plug-in hybrid is front-wheel drive. As well as offering an electric range of up to 50 miles, the plug-in hybrid also has a slightly larger boot than our full hybrid test car. Honestly though, I wouldn't be too concerned about this full hybrid having a smaller boot, because it is still absolutely huge. It's 597 litres. To give you some context, the plug-in hybrid is 617 litres, so it's not that great a difference. It's a good square shape, good opening. You do get some wheel arch intrusions. You can have this nifty boot liner here. Take that out to show you that there is in fact no underfloor storage in this hybrid model. You do get a bit of a lower shelf in the plug-in hybrid. But no, very big, useful boot that is going to be absolutely fine for family motoring. Now the CR-V has long been a very practical car, and this one, I mean, this is absolutely huge in the back. So having a longer wheelbase means more space for passengers. I think there's about 1.5 centimetres extra legroom in here. I mean, there's loads of it basically. You can also slide the seats. There's a lever down on the side here, and these go 19 centimetres on their runners, so you can actually free up quite a lot more boot space should you need it. And you can adjust the backrest as well. So there are 8 different levels of angle for the backrest. Overall, this is just, I mean, it's lovely. Quite frankly, there's so much space. There's good headroom here. Even with the panoramic roof, you still get good headroom. It's nice and wide, so you get 3 people across here quite comfortably. It's got a flat floor. I can get my size 10s in there. No issues whatsoever. A couple of USB chargers as well, and even heated seats in the back as well in this particular car. Very nice. Oh, it's a nice little jingle, isn't it? In the front of the CR-V, I mean, this definitely feels like a proper full-size SUV. It feels really big. You can get lots of adjustment in the driving position, so you can sit up nice and high. And actually, although it's a big vehicle, the corners of the car are easy to see. These A-pillars aren't too thick, so visibility is good. The dash design is familiar in places from cars like the Civic, with this mesh effect and these little joysticks for the vents. And quality in here, I mean, it feels solid. There's some, yeah, I mean, there are a few scratchy plastics, but it's by no means bad. You get, I think it's a 10.5-inch display for the dials, and it's the touchscreen is a 9-inch. This is very familiar from Honda. It's okay. I think if you had been in something like a Kia Sportage and then you jumped in here and you saw this small screen, it wouldn't feel too impressive. But overall in here, quality's good, lots of space, loads of storage, including room for a bag of Haribo. Can't say fairer than that. The hybrid system is an evolution of the one in the previous CR-V, and it's essentially the same as what you'll find in the Civic and the ZR-V hybrids. It's a complicated setup, but in simple terms, there's kind of three elements to it. So you have a 2-litre 4-cylinder naturally aspirated petrol engine. You also then have 2 electric motors. One of those drives the wheels and the other is a generator. In normal use, the role of the petrol engine is to provide power to the generator motor, and then the generator motor can provide power for the electric motor to drive the wheels, or it can top up the battery depending on what's needed. The idea behind this is that the petrol engine can therefore operate at optimum efficiency, and also at low speeds, and well, in fact even normal road speeds, it gives more of the feel that you're driving an electric car. Now, at higher speeds, where using the electric motor to drive the wheels would be less efficient, Honda system can actually have the petrol engine send direct drive to the wheels instead. Clearly that's oversimplifying things somewhat, and there are scenarios where the petrol engine might assist with driving the wheels at lower speeds, or the electric motor will help out at higher speeds. As is the case with hybrids, it's not really so much how it works that matters, but more how it feels. And in this CR-V hybrid, generally speaking, I think they've done a really nice job with it. So a lot of the time it feels quite a lot like an EV. It runs in EV mode a fair bit, like very low speeds and coasting. It will flick into EV mode, and actually even when it's in hybrid mode, you don't hear the petrol engine in normal driving. And when you do hear it is when you want to accelerate hard, and there are kind of 2 scenarios. So one is from low speed you accelerate hard and it is quite noisy, but then it almost flicks through a ratio and it quietens down again. The other is if you're at higher speed, say you're on a motorway, you need to pull out from 60 to 70 miles an hour, the burst of acceleration, you put your foot down, and you do hear the engine, but it's not too bad actually. It's not too coarse, it's not too noisy, certainly much more refined than earlier hybrid systems, and I would say more refined than the hybrid system in the previous CR-V as well. In terms of performance, this car will get from 0 to 62 in 9.4 seconds, which doesn't sound terribly quick, and it has 181 horsepower, so actually the 181 horsepower is more telling of the performance. It feels like a car with 180 horsepower or so, which is to say it feels reasonably powerful. Official fuel economy is 42.2 miles per gallon, which is not at all bad for a big non-diesel SUV, and in our tests we have actually seen 42 miles per gallon in mixed driving. The CR-V plug-in hybrid has an official fuel economy figure of 353 miles per gallon. How's that? Now obviously you're going to have to plug in a lot to achieve that, but I would say that the plug-in hybrid's EV range, the official range, is 50 miles, so that's really useful. Okay, you might see 40 miles in the real world, but it does mean you'll be able to do a lot of miles on EV only, which of course will boost your overall fuel economy. The other thing it does means that the CR-V plug-in hybrid has CO2 emissions of just 18 grams a kilometre in official tests, which is great news for company car drivers because it means lower BIK rates to pay. An unexpected advantage of the plug-in hybrid is that although it's front-wheel drive, whereas this full hybrid is all-wheel drive, it can actually tow more. It has a specific towing driving mode, so that car can tow up to 1,500 kilos, whereas with the full hybrid it's actually only 750 kilos. In other respects, the CR-V adopts the same philosophy as its predecessor, with an entirely comfort-oriented approach. Now, as for the rest of the CR-V driving experience, there is actually a reasonably marked difference between this hybrid and the plug-in hybrid. So the plug-in hybrid, you can feel the extra weight for a start, but it's on adaptive dampers, whereas this is not. And actually it's a fair bit softer, and as a result of the weight and the softness, it does sort of loll around a bit, and can feel a little bit wayward, particularly when you're driving more quickly. This full hybrid CR-V is on what Honda describes as reactive dampers, which apparently react to the frequency in the road, which changes their behaviour slightly. I mean, I'm not sure you could particularly notice that as the driver, but what I will say is it feels more tied down than the plug-in hybrid. It's still very comfortable. This is clearly a comfort-oriented car, but it strikes a much better balance for me, at least. You can put the plug-in hybrid into sport mode, which does firm up the dampers, but it's not a sporty car. It doesn't really work in that mode. It pipes a sound through the speakers that's supposed to be engine sound. It doesn't work in that mode. This is a comfortable car, and you should drive it in its comfort settings. With that in mind, it's also slightly odd how heavy the CR-V steering is. This applies to both this hybrid and the plug-in hybrid. It's an unusually heavy setup, which sort of suggests it could be quite sporty. But no, like we say, this is not a sporty car. So how to sum up the CR-V? Clearly it has many merits, but how does it fare against its rivals? What's really key here is what you consider to be this car's rivals. So if you look at the CR-V's pricing, so they start at £46,000 for a hybrid, go for the plug-in hybrid, which is the top spec model, that's £54,000. So this is not a cheap car by any stretch. And if you put it up against something like a Tucson hybrid or plug-in hybrid or a Sportage with the same drivetrain, or even a RAV4 hybrid, the Honda does look quite expensive. However, given its size, given the assertive styling, it's not unreasonable to think that people could actually be coming from something like an Audi Q5 or a XC60 from Volvo, or maybe a BMW X3, and looking at the CR-V as offering slightly better value than those cars. Certainly in terms of equipment, it has everything. Even the entry-level model, it's not really an entry-level model, it has a panoramic sunroof, it has dual zone climate, heated seats, heated steering wheel, it's got wireless CarPlay, wired Android Auto, smartphone charging pad. I mean, it is packed with equipment. So where does that leave the CR-V? Well, kind of in a middle ground, to be honest. It's certainly not the default hybrid CR-V that we'd recommend. I think that probably remains the Sportage and Tucson. But given Honda's outstanding reputation for reliability, should be a fuss-free ownership proposition, it's incredibly roomy, it's very comfortable to drive. Yeah, it's a solid offering. Not a completely fault-free recommendation, but solid. Thank you for watching this CarGurus UK review. Please do head to cargurus.co.uk to find great deals from top-rated dealers on your next car. And of course, please do subscribe to this channel so we can keep you posted with when our new videos go live.